Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. You saw me bringing out this old door here. It's an old square body Chev door, not quite sure, probably 85, 86, don't know. Could be anywhere, could be 78, I don't know. But I had this kicking around the shop now for a while with the plans of doing something a little bit different. A lot of you guys I've noticed that do rust repair. Some of you guys are just doing rust repair on regular vehicles. Now, you don't have shops, you're doing it out by the door, all that type of stuff, and you're doing it on the cheap. You can't afford a lot of stuff. One of the things I noticed is a lot of guys are trying to do body work with Flux core welder and having troubles with it. Okay, now I don't do Flux core for body work, but we're going to today. I got to put a bottom in this door, so I'm going to weld the bottom in this door and see how I make out with it. So a lot of you guys that are having troubles getting frustrated with it and stuff like that, you know, you'll see the troubles that I go through to put a bottom in the door, and between, you know, we'll probably pick up some tips. Now, there's some guys out there who've gotten really good with it and can use it and won't use nothing else but a flux core, okay? I've always used a gas welder, and I've been using it for about 35 years. That's all I've ever used. Flux core, I've used this welder over on the other channel, and I've done heavy welding with it. They're great for that, welding out around the door, that type of stuff. But for doing sheet metal, I think the wire size is too big. It's 030. There's a lot of heat in flux core. And you know, I just find that it's going to be harder to do. But in saying that, some of you guys can't afford to go out and buy a bottle of gas and buy a more expensive welder and stuff like that. All you can afford is these little $200 welders. Some are like 150 bucks, that type of stuff. So we're going to see if we can weld. We're going to do the cutting butt. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the cutting butt on the bottom of this door, put a bottom in it, get it all welded up, see what it comes out like, and I'm going to take you guys along. Stick around. So here's what we got. See the corners gone on the door here. And it's also gone over along the bottom here, type thing. The lip is there. I don't know how bad the inside door is. She's grinding. She's a few bubbles in her, stuff like there. And the lip might be bad. But what I'm going to do the first thing here now is I'm going to go ahead, not going to cut nothing out. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the bottom of the door on the outside and on the inside. And let's see what we got. So let's start there. So you started me here, grinded off the outside. Now I'm on the inside here, grinding off on the inside here, okay? Then I realized something. What I need to do, most times when I'm doing door bottoms, I like to have them on the vehicle, okay? I'll take them off like this here, clean them all up, get them all ready. But when I go to do the door bottom, I'll put them on the vehicle. For purposes of what we're doing here, I'm going to just turn around and do this off the car, everything, okay? So I started to grind the lip off here to separate the skin. And then I realized maybe I should measure up first. If you're in a case like this here, what you should be doing is on the outside, measure up and then measure down. So you got a point to go by, and you know how far down this bottom of the door is. That's why I put them on the car, so then you can actually make up your gaps you want. And you can put it on the door. You can move the door skin up and down to set your gaps on the bottom. But for demonstration purposes, we're going to be doing it this way today. So I'm going to flip this over, take a few marking points on either side there, so I can actually measure down to the bottom and say, okay, this is where the bottom is here, this is where the bottom is here, this is where the bottom is here. I got to add a little small bit here because I started to grind it off the lip here. You can see the separation there. So I'll go ahead now, get them marked, and we get the bottom all cleaned up. A simple dollar store seamstress tape is dandy to have around because they're great for doing around corners and straight edges. You know how hard it is to bend the measuring tape. Like when you bend the measuring tape, it never ever goes right on you. Like going down across this here, trying to measure this here, then you got to kink it and stuff like that. This is where this comes in. This is great for doing measurements on shapes and stuff like that. So like this one here got metric on it and got standard on it. So either way, do it millimeters or you can do it in inches. So, old cheap screwdriver, end of it sharpened off on it. I'm going to use the Magic 15. 15 inches or 38 millimeters. 38? A little bit more than 38. Let's leave it at 15. Let's not confuse it. Put one there, one in the middle. Just pull that right to the edge there. Bring it up. 15. I'm using a scribe because I get a better mark. A marker will actually give you, we got like 1/8 of an inch there. So over here, it's a little bit longer. Just to keep this little roll over metal. I'll estimate it. Now I'll go ahead and get all the bottom side cleaned up. So I got it all roughly cleaned up here, and what I'm noticing here, she's a bit rough on this edge here. Going up along here, I can feel a few rust blisters coming out through here. Now, your first instinct will be to turn around, and when she's gone up to there, let's replace her to here, right across the middle. Okay, replace everything from there down. It all depends on what you're going at, because like in the case of this here, you can buy these doors, okay? Now, I hear a lot of people talking about why don't you do it? If you're going to do it right. Now, okay, that's understandable. The fellas that are saying that got an abundance of money to go out and buy parts. There's a lot of you guys out there that live from check to check, you know, don't have a lot of money to spend on stuff. Got a cheap little welder, pile of steel, and a bunch of rusty parts, okay? You can go out on a Saturday afternoon and spend an entire day with a roll of wire and weld stuff up, and it doesn't cost you no money. It's a good bit of enjoyment. To just turn around and say, well, you know, why are you welding up this door? Why don't you just buy a new door for it? That's fine and dandy. There was a time that all this stuff was not readily available. For these trucks now, yes, they were, right? But for a lot of vehicles, you're not going to find panels for it, and 20 years ago you didn't, so we made do. And still today, guys can fix up cars without having to spend a pile of money. Most money is spent on restorations is spent on parts in terms of fenders, doors, quarter panels, floor pans. All that is great to have, and you do a fantastic job, and it looks fantastic. But if you haven't got $10,000 to throw at a project for panels alone, you're going to get discouraged in a hurry. Don't feel bad about doing these little tiny patch-up jobs on a project, okay? Even a daily driver. A lot of fellas give a hard time for fellas that are doing it. I intend to do a truck. I don't know if it's going to be this one or not, but one of the trucks I'm going to do is going to be built on a budget. Not going to buy nothing for it, okay? I will buy a few parts here and there, all the cheap stuff I can buy, and I'm going to do it as if I was 19 years old, working at McDonald's, had to get me beat around the road, okay? It looks bad. You know, my parents bought me a little $100 welder for Christmas, and so now I'm going to turn around and start building cars. This is what I'm going to go at, okay? This is the whole purpose behind this. And them $100 welders are the little cheap flux core welders, so let's make do with it. Gabbing on here, talking too much, but I wanted to make a point of that, okay? Now that I got it all cleaned up, this section over here is bad up to here, okay? But she's only bad on the very bottom of the skin and everything. I don't want to go getting right up into the middle of the door skin up here. I'm going to put a piece on the end here, and then I'm going to put a piece right across the bottom here, okay? I'm trying to keep all the body work close to the edge as I possibly can, because when you does metal work across the middle here, and you gets warpage and whatever in it, you're filling this panel from here to here to try to get it straight. If you can keep it small down in the lower area on either side, you can keep your body work to a minimum, okay? Don't worry about looking at seeing patchwork on a car like that because of what it is, okay? It's a car you're trying to get on the road, or it's a cheap little project that you're trying to have fun with and not spend no money on. So let's get this turned over now and start sizing it all up and get some stuff cut off it. What I did before I start cutting this all up is I turn around and start making templates of the two corners, okay? You can see I got them marked out here. You see the scratch marks here going up along here. Where's it go to? Right here. It goes across here. And that's the piece that I made. One thing about like these GM doors and stuff like that, the bottoms of these on this front corner are right angles. So this one here is a right angle corner, so it was easy to make up a piece to go there. Just that I wanted something that I can actually lay there to check later on. This will keep the bottom the same height and keep this from tipping out. So I went ahead and made another small one for over here. This has got a curvature in it with an edge. This is not a 90, so I had to actually draw this out, and then I scribed it and everything. So now I got a template that I can lay back on there, so I can actually find out how low my bottom got to be and how far out it sticks out over here. And I'll use this for my alignment. These don't always work. I've always found they work good. In the case of this here, I'm going to use it for this here, but I always prefer to have them on the car when I start doing the final fitment on them. That way I get a real nice edge. So, but for now, this is all I'm going to use. So now I can start cleaning this off, and I'm just going to cut away the bottom here. I'm going to cut up across here. You can see this bad along here. I'm going to cut a section out of here. I'm going to keep it as small as I possibly can. I'm trying to stay away from in the middle, okay? Because one thing I can tell you about flux core, there's a lot of heat in it. So I'm going to try to make the piece as small as I can to go down through here, and then I'm going to make a piece to go across the bottom here. So I might say just chop this clean right off across here, weld a whole new bottom in it, or connect it all the way up to here. I don't really think there's a need if this is something that you're doing yourself on a budget with like a flux core welder. You're going to run into a lot of trouble. You're going to have a lot of filler in here. I've always made my patches as small as I possibly can when doing body work, because the smaller the patch is, the less filler it takes. The larger the patch, the more filler it takes, because you've got to have a transition between your two panels, okay? If I was to cut this clean right off here, and put a whole new bottom in this here, by the time it's all finished and done, from here to here will be filled. Right now, this section here is what will be filled, just this lower section here, to get away with it, okay? There's a method to my madness. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this all cut off. So here I am now. What I went and did is I went and removed all the glass and everything out of this too. I forgot to tell you that. Took all the glass out of it, door handles, latches, all that. I had to lighten the door up, hinges. I took all that off it. Now I'm over here now and I'm removing the pieces I got to cut on the outside. This is the piece that I cut off here. All I did is after I cut it on the outside, I grinded this edge flat here, broke it clear. Now I'm left with a little piece in here, and as you can see clearly, there's 3 spot welds in this, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut these in the middle here, fold them back, and grind these off a little tiny bit, and just fold this piece off. That's all I'm going to do. Now I've gone ahead and I just cut everything out of my way because I know I got to have a lip going along here. I'm not too concerned about duplicating what originally was here, okay? I know I got to put a drain plug in the bottom of it here going across here. You remember what I'm building here now. I'm not restoring this is what people say. I'm repairing it, okay? So then I got that lip left here, so I got something to go by there. And then I cut all this off, so I'm good with, gone back to good solid metal is what I've gone to. So now that I got this done, next thing I have to do is I got to get some metal and make these pieces up here so I can get these welded in. So here's what I got. The old piece of shelving. Okay, this is what I'm going to use for this project. You can use any number of things, okay? You're on a budget, you got to figure things out. Shelving is a good choice. Over here snooping in the corner, got some scrap here. I might use this instead now because I think this is going to be long enough to do all the pieces I need to do, even possibly even the bottom. And I won't have to cut up that panel. Old hoods are another form of metal you can get. I usually hold on to them. I scraps an old vehicle. I'll keep the hoods for sheet metal. You know, any number of reasons. Sometimes they got nice curvature shapes in them, belt lines, shapes in the middle here. You can probably incorporate it into a project. As you can see, I got a big abundance of shelving kicking around. I just picked that up as I'm going. People call me up and say, do you want it? Yeah, I'll come get it. Old parts van here, you can cut the side out of it. You know, if you had, you know, just kicking around in your yard and you need a bit of sheet of tin, you can cut the side out of this here, cut a piece out of the roof of it, cut a section out of the hood of it. It's all metal you can possibly use. Curvature panels there, you can use that there for some shape of something. Nice neat little belt line here. You can probably use that on something. Old square body Chev roofs. These were pretty good. I used to love, these are great for Model A doors. I've after making a couple of repairing Model A doors with just the roof skins because they got a nice little crown on them going right across, and it just puts enough of bulge on a Model A door that you can actually use that panel. So you could use something like that as well. I'm going to lay that aside for now, and I found this piece here, so I'm going to use this one here, and hopefully I can get all the pieces out of this. So I'm going to start from this end down here and start cutting pieces for this here, bending it up, and bending up pieces here, get them welded in there, and hopefully I'm left with enough on that end that I can actually get an outside skin piece for it. And if not, then I'll probably dip into that and cut a piece out of that. Went hunting, found some more stuff I had kicking around after trimming some up, looking at a few things here, and I think I'm going to replace the entire bottom lip from here right on over to here. This is there, it's solid, but I know if I start trying to repair it and stuff like that, I'm going to run into troubles. I got this metal here that I found. I've used a bunch of this on other stuff. And what I'm going to do with this here, now I'm going to bend it up on 90 on the metal brake. If you never had a metal brake, a couple of pieces of angle iron clamped together and hammered over on an I-beam or something like that, like I got on the floor there. You don't necessarily need a metal brake at times. Keep your pieces small and you'll be fine, okay? This stuff, usually you see me welding a lot of 18 gauge. I think this stuff may be 20. That's what I'm thinking what a lot of this stuff is here that I got. I can't find my gauge meter here. I don't know where it's gone to. It was hung on the wall for a long time and I don't know where it's gone to. I'll find it eventually, but yeah, it's not the 18 gauge, it's slider stuff again, right? So I'm really going to put that flux core wire to the test. So I'm going to go ahead, get this bent up and get this fitting in here. So I'm happy. I'm going to leave this here for now till I get an idea of where this is going to sit in reference to the outer skin, because I need this here for height, I need this here for height, and down here I don't have nothing. Right here, that's my height right there. That's the height I gotta have it there. So I'll work on getting all that there fitting once I get that bent up. So there's my little piece, falls in there. It's not quite on a 90, it's past 90, and I just got it sort of lays in there like so. And I look at it and I size it all up. It fits pretty good down to there. You see the angle it is on. So what I done then is I brought this over here and I lined it all up. And I marked it here because I want this to be able to bend this around the corner. I'm going to cut this off and just flatten it out so I can tuck in underneath that. Not going to worry about it, grind this off and weld it right to that there. Same with this process over here. Do the same thing again. I'll do a little cut in through here and I'll bend this back, weld it on there, and then I'll weld that up there and weld that right across there. Now, I'm like yourself now. I'm new at this. This is my first time at this here. Am I going to do the cutting butt on this? No, okay. For years and years, I did a lot of lap welding, okay? And it all depended where it was to. The reason why I got into the cutting butt was usually because of corners and stuff like that, and doing filler work on the outside of cars. There's nothing wrong with a lap weld, okay? So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to clean this up, mark it. I'm going to cut it so there's about this much left there. And I'm going to do a little lap weld on that there, so that there will look tidy, and it'll be a lot easier to weld. And like, you can get foolish here and really want to do the cutting butt in through there, but we know what this door is. This is not pristine. It's not a numbers matching, you know, whatever it is. So what we're trying to make something strong and make it look nice again. That's the whole purpose of this video, is to show the simple way of doing simple welding. You don't have to do the real crazy stuff all the time, okay? This is what I made my living, was doing this type of work for a long time. All right, let's get that cut trimmed and get that fitting in place. So here's all I did. I made a cut down through there and made a cut down through here. And then all I did is I just flattened it out. That's all I did with it. See what I did? Now, I'm not trimming it to fit. I'm going to use what we have here to fit this in place. So now I got to put back in place safety tip number 1. Don't try to put pieces of metal on a car with no gloves on while you're filming, okay? I cut top out, you know, I never cut my finger. I cut my finger on the metal on the door skin on the bottom. I have to get a lot of these over the years, so that's minor. Anyway, what I'm going to do here now is I got to square this up here. Hard to see. Square it up there and get this straightened away down here. I'm going to do a little cut, relief cutting through here, let this fall back. So this here lines up with this edge here, because this here is the bottom lip, and this is supposed to come straight out. I'm not worried about this outer lip yet, because this got to be trimmed off, and I'm not worried about that. I'm going to mark this up here and see how much of this here I can cut out of the way, and that way I'll get this all trimmed up and ready to go. So I got this trimmed up here, and I got this here notched right here, and you can see I marked this with the marker. I'm going to come down now, probably leave about this much of it there, and I'm just going to trim everything else off, cut this all out of the way here. I'll get this all cleaned up, ready to weld on, so that piece there is ready to go. Everything's trimmed off. Everything's grinded up. Let's get this mounted. So here's where I'm to. I got everything clamped in place here. Got that there set up there. I never bent none of that yet. I'm going to go ahead and get this tack welded across here. And I got this fitting in here. I left that piece long on the inside. I can trim that off after. That'll just give me something that I can weld to. If you tries to trim that up and tries to get like an open, just makes life a lot harder. I just know that that got to be that height there. And I'm just going to weld it across here. And once it's welded, I'll just trim it off on the inside. Right here, I'll weld it over so far. Then I'll start shaping this here to fold it around here to roll this way. And I'll weld that in place once it gets all that welded there. And I'll do the same over here as well. Now, this welder here I'm using is a Simner welder. I covered this on my other channel, Fitzy's Fab, the flip side. Doing the projects over there, and I use this here for that. This Simner sent me this welder, I say could be 8 months ago, I suppose. And I asked them, they wanted me to review one of their welders. And I was like, I'm already doing good with one welder now. But what I would like to do is send me the cheapest welder that you got, okay? So they sent me this welder here. And this here is just a simple flux core welder. It says that it can do a bunch of stuff, but I never bothered with none of that. It says it can use arc welding on it, which is cool. And then it's lift TIG, but I never got no TIG stick or nothing with it. And I wasn't going to do that with it. You'll need a gas for that, right? I'm just using flux core. I have 030 wire in it. Flux core wire already set up in the machine. So the thing with it is, I was told that you can get smaller wire, 023 flux core wire. I have not seen nothing in my neck of the woods or anywhere where I can get it. 030 is the smallest wire I can get. So that's the wire I'm going to use in this here. This is a simple little welder. If I'm not mistaken, like, I had a quick look to see if they still had to carry these here. They have other welders now that have different style of welders. I can't seem to find this one here. This was like 150 bucks or something for the welder, and it worked really good. Like, it's great for doing heavy stuff. If you're doing trailers and stuff like that, one of these here would be really good for that, right? So, but I had tried to use sheet metal with it, and I'm going to take you along here now and see what kind of troubles we're going to have in trying to use a simple flux core welder to weld sheet metal. Now I have the welder set on 60 amps. And what I'm going to do is, I've watched a few guys and they let this come out, the wire come out a ways. So I'm going to let that come out and I'm going to touch it off that there and see if I can start welding this here. Now, the thing with flux core, unlike MIG, is it has a very big arc. It's a very bright arc. Do not do like you've seen me done before. As you notice, there's no nozzle on this here. When I welds with the MIG welder, I'm hiding behind the tip of the gun. There's no tip to hide behind this here, so wear a helmet. So, here's what ends up happening. I'm a first time user doing this with sheet metal. Okay, I played around with it when I done a test over a year ago on flux core with sheet metal. I've done little small panels and stuff like that, but I'm actually doing body work with it here now. I'm playing around with different amperages. The voltage on it, turned it down, amperage, turned it up. I'm at 100 amps there now, and I'm probably still going to play around with it some more, trying to get it so that it actually welds. Problem I'm having, I'm finding that it's going in, it's sticking, and it's like it's turning itself off, and I don't know if it's me or it's the weld or whatnot, it's losing the ground, something's like that going on. Like I said, I'm learning this here now as I'm going. I'm not going doctoring this up and say, oh, look, I'm a great welder, okay? This is what is involved in trying to do welding on an auto body. So someone goes out and sees me doing the cut and butt on a car using MIG welder and stuff like that, and he goes home, well, I'm going at that now in my old truck. And then he says, well, I'm only going to buy a $100 welder. And then they goes at this, and they're like, you know, well, Fitzy makes it look easy. Yeah, hello. This is not easy, okay? It's an art to it. You can figure it out, and you can get good at it as well. It's just that I've never done it, and I'm taking you along now for my first experience with flux core on sheet metal. Now I've been playing around here, going up and down. I started off at 100 amps, went down to 90 amps, went down to 80 amps, went down to 60 amps. Now I'm back up to 70 amps. I've been turning my voltage, I suppose that's what this one is here. I've been turning that down. I haven't left that much. I pretty well left that on -2. I'm not too familiar with all this stuff. Again, I'm learning like yourselves. I've always used MIG welders my whole life. When I come right out of trade school back in the mid-80s, I bought one brand new. I always screwed on a bottle of gas into it, and that's how I done everything. I've only used flux core, usually every now and again when I weld up a frame or something over the years. So I'd go to someone's house and they need a hand with something, and I'd use it that way. I've never used sheet metal for it, so that's what I'm at here now. And you can see what it looks like. I'm getting it. It's welding on a lap weld. I don't know if it's the trigger on the machine or not, but there's a real bad delay. When I pull the trigger, I hear the motor going, there's no spark, then there's spark. So I don't know if that's the welder itself. It's something I got set up wrong. So Maybe it might have to do with this. I'll experiment with some more. I'm all experimental with all this stuff. Because usually when they give you settings for machines like this, especially flux core, it's usually always for heavy steel, okay? Sheet metal is a whole different ball game. You know, just it's one of those things you're going to have to play around with it and figure it out, just like I am here now. So, like, don't be frustrated with it. I'm doing this on this old door because I don't know if I'll ever use the door, and it's a good practice. And I can see how where all my problems are going to be when it's all said and done. I started on an easy spot on the door, or in the spot that they're not going to see, the bottom of the door, before I go and do the outside. So, like, always think about your projects. If you're going to start something, don't go out and say, I'm going to weld a quarter panel on a car right off the bat, okay? Don't do that. Go start somewhere small. Start like a bottom of fender, inner fender weld, floor pans, that type of stuff. Do all that first before you actually attempt the outside of the panel with something new. So, I'm going to go ahead now and see if I can get the rest of this welded up. And when I bring you back, I should have it welded up. But I'll see what I come up with. Now, look at that. Isn't that a lovely mess? I got it welded in there. It's taking a bit of getting used to. It's very slow for the arc. That's the thing I'm finding. And if I stick the wire out any distance for welding like thin areas, it can do it. But it's like takes forever for the, like, I wouldn't say forever, but it's a long time for what I'm used to using MIG to get the arc to actually set off. Like, I can hear it. I pull on the trigger and I keep pulling on the trigger like it's hurting my finger, now to the point that it just seems like when I touch the trigger with a MIG welder, it's like it's instantaneous. This here is not, okay? There's a delay, it's slow, and of course you can see it's all welded up. And there's an unbelievable amount of heat gone into it, I can tell you that. So it's only going to be fun when I start welding the outside. But I'm going to take the grinder to all this now. There's holes in it, and, you know, it's gaps in it. I miss spots, and, you know, I actually done a butt weld right here. Get out of my light. I done a little butt weld here and put a piece of copper behind it and done that. And welded that in across there. I'm going to grind all this up now and see what it looks like, and probably dab it in a few spots that I missed it. But like I said, we're experimenting here today. We're going to see how fits you can make out with flux core. I've had to grind it down, now I'm going back again, and I'm touching up a few spots. Over here I had a hole, I kept blowing the hole up, and I let the wire go right long, and then I just start tapping it around. The biggest thing I'm finding about this here is that, like, when I usually MIG weld, I like to overlap my welds. And like you set it up like a stack of dimes, and you're going on to weld the next one, you weld partly ways over the other one. It's kind of hard to do with this when you got this going on, right? Trying to figure out where to put the next weld, because you got the flux and everything on it. Now by rights you go back clean all that up, but you're doing sheet metal, you can't be like every time you're doing this here, go back clean off the flux. You just got to keep welding, and hopefully you get it all, right? This is just the thing about it. Now, there's a number of you guys out there that are certified welders that are going to come back and tell me I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong, I should have my settings here, I should have my settings there. Great. Put them in the comments below, because I want everybody to go in, and I know there's a lot of knowledge that follows my channel, and they can put their knowledge in the section below. I'm no professional at this flux core welding, I can tell you that. I'm going to keep playing with it. I would like to get a handle on it. It's a lot slower for me, okay? But it's like anything else. It's the first time I'm doing it. Taking you guys along. So, I got this here. I'm going to clean this up now. That's all I'm going to do with it. I can get foolish with that now and do everything with it, but I'm still learning here. So, I'm happy with what's going on here. I got the two pieces welded. I'll have a look when I flips it over to see how the penetration is. But what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go on and start making the piece for over here. I'm making the piece for down here that I got to put in, so I can finish the bottom of the door right off. And I'll have that done. So I'll have a nice solid structure that I can actually put the door skin onto. So I'll get this all cleaned up. There you have my very first attempt at using flux core on sheet metal. Okay, this is all, I'd say 22 gauge, 20 gauge, somewhere in that range there. This is a lap weld. It's probably about that much of it's lap welded here. I'm not going to be concerned about doing a butt weld right now. I will experiment with it. I dreads it, but I will. What I'm moving on to now is I'm going to make up this piece here. I've been looking at this here. I'm going to cut that off, make a new piece for that. But what I'm going to do is I'll make this corner. This corner steps down here and steps down here. and then I'm just going to lay a flat piece in here, and weld it on along here, and like trim that off, much the same as what I welded here and on the other side. So I got a little piece of metal here, right here. I got that. I'm going to clamp that into the vise here, and I'm going to hold it off on the corner like that. Then I'm going to use the vise as a buck, and I'm going to roll that edge around and roll that outer corner on it. That way that'll have that bottom corner, and I got to make sure that I'm doing this right. This would have to come this way. If I done it this way here, yeah, that way there it'll work right for me, because then I can actually roll that corner around there and there. Well, guess I never had record on, but that there, I had that set up on that corner like that. Then I just hammered it around the edge there and around the edge there, and this is what you're left with. I'll have to work that again a bit better than that and dolly that corner up and get that, but I didn't want it full corner. That'll come over here, and that piece will fit like that, and then I can trim that on, trim it up to do what I want, and have it so that I can lay the other piece underneath flat and just weld it right along this edge here. I could play around trying to make all this in one piece, but like again, I'm doing this very, very simple, something for beginners, something that you can just say, okay, yeah, I patched up my car and I'm happy with it. Okay, so I'll get this all fitting here now and dollied up, and I'll get that welded in. All it is, I cut her back here, got that flush mounted there, and I'm going to overlap all this again as well. Down here, I'll trim this off the fact when I cut this out of the way. So I'll get this welded down to here and in through here and down through here, and that piece will be installed. It doesn't bother me showing you the mistakes that I made, okay, mate, because we're only human, and there's too many professionals out there that feel that they're above themselves to show mistakes, okay? And learning is the big thing. I'm still learning here now. I'm getting a better feeling for it now the more I do. If you're using this Flux core for the first time, I recommend don't worry about doing the cut and bolt with it yet, because I'm still trying to figure it out. Still playing around with settings. I'm at 80 amps there now on the dial. I got the other dial on 0. That's where I'm to with all that there now. That's on 80 amps, and I got this straight up and down. So that's where I'm to with it. And this is what I'm coming up. There's a lot of slag on it. Right? I find it harder to grind. It is extremely hot. It heats up the metal a lot, right? So it's just one of those things. But I'm going to keep going with it. It is something that's great for patching up a rig, I can tell you that. But this is I was hoping that this bottom of this door wasn't this bad. I hope it was just going to be putting the bottom skin in it. And I didn't think the inside was as bad as it was. Well, hey, that's it. More practice. And that's all this is practice. And taking you guys along to show you that a guy that's been at this 40 years can still learn something new and have troubles doing it. So anyway, I'm going to get that all cleaned up now and get this chopped off, get a piece made for there and there. That's a bit better. I find it extremely hard to grind with the regular 24 grits. Flux core seems to be harder. I'm having to do this with the stone. And I have much luck with it, with the other one. So it's the grinding characteristics is different. And like, yeah, it's an overlap weld. Yes, I see that. That's fine, but that's good for that. I went and found a piece of metal there underneath the bench. This is this white stuff that I got here, which is 18 gauge. So this is a heavier gauge metal. I'm just doing this because I got it here. And I'm going to see what it's like to weld to. And I'm going to slide that in there. Not going to worry about the inside of it. I'll cut all that off later on. And I'm going to clamp that place there. And I'm just going to weld that down through there and across there. So there you have it. Don't that look lovely? But I'm getting used to it. I'm finding, like, I'm experimenting with my lengths and stuff like that. And I do find that if I do it the way I enjoy it, like some says have the wand right out, but if I played around with it, just go in and start doing spot weld, and then spot weld and spot weld, like that there, that come out nice, right? But like over here, this is, the wand is right out and I'm trying to fill up holes, okay? Down here is where I'm down close to it, and I'm actually just doing like trying to lay down the nickels. I found that after I did so much welding, I couldn't see what was left, and what I had to do then is I took a little wire brush and I wire brushed it off to clean it up to see what I could see, and I went back and re-welded it again, right? But it's coming around there. I'm going to take this grinding stone now, clean all it up, get that all ready, and that piece is done. What I'll do is when I flips it over, I'll mark all this and I'll trim all this off on the other side, because I still got to trim off stuff on the inside. We'll get to inspect to see how well the welding is down along here. So. There you have it. I'm not concerned about the lengths and coming off here. Not concerned about it, because I'm going to be trimming all this up anyway. It probably only needs about this much of this, right? But I put a big piece on it. It was a lot easier to work with. I'm getting the hang of it a bit better there now. Is this perfect? Far from it. Is it strong? I'm willing to say it is. So, and I got all this over here done. So now that I got all that done, now I can flip it over and clean up the other side. Mark this bottom section here and up along here and trim all this off so I can get ready to make the lower skin for it. Don't that just look lovely? Old tabs of metal. You can see in there, and you can see here, it's good penetration with it. Okay. And along here, it's only an overlap, but you can see there's spots there where the welding came right on through. Good penetration there. You can really see it here though. The knobs of weld on it. Lots of heat in that there. So that's basically that. What I need to do now is I need to trim this off. I'm going to trim off these intersections here, get clear of them. This section here, grind it up. Come over here, cut that tab off. Grind this down here. Cut this across here. I got my little templates. I'm going to lay them on there and I'll mark this down here and then I'll cut the bottom of this off. And same with this side here. I know where that got to be cut off. Just got to come straight down is all. But I'll get this cut first. So I'm going to give it a quick clean up there now and get rid of this inside stuff and put templates on it and mark it. So I went ahead, I cut off all these sections here, cleaned them all up, turned around, I trimmed up this outer section right here. You can see it's still a bit long here. I'm not worried about that because the skin overlaps it anyway, okay? I just want to leave a bit of meat there. So I'm down here now and I got a straight edge put across here. I took my seamstress tape. I took that and I measured for my points and come down here and I had it so there was 1/8 of an inch to 15 inches. So this is probably 14 7/8 now to this piece here. Going right along there, measured in the middle, measured on the end. So now I went and took a scribe line and scribed that all the way along there. Now I can chop that off down along there. And there you have it. Got it all trimmed off on the bottom here, cleaned up, rounded up my little edge there. Cleaned up along this edge here. Come over here then, done the same thing over here. Cut off this edge down here, rounded out this edge here so I got a little lip that I can weld to. I got that done now. Now I can get ready to start with the bottom on it. I can use my little template that I got there to make sure that I got it right. I'm just going to make a little skein that figures I'm going to come down to here and go across, and I'm going to put a piece right along the entire bottom. Then that's what my plan is. Like you would think you'd probably just take all that, but no, I'm not getting into that. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut out a piece. I'm going to put a flange on it, same as on the inside there, bend it over, and have it so that it just slides on over it and it'll overlap here. And then I'm going to decide whether I'm going to experiment with the cotton butt on this. What the hell? What's the worst could happen? I can warp it all up and have to mud it all up if I goes to keep the door. Anyway, gotta try something once, don't you? Gotta start somewhere. So here's all I'm going to do now. You saw me, I cleaned up the piece of metal. I just cut it off the end of that panel that I had there. Not worried about the width of it right now. I can trim all that after. All I was after was getting a lip bent on it. And I measured up the one on the bottom side here. It was 5/8 of an inch tucked in this way. So I marked up 5/8 of an inch on either side, stuck it in the brake and bent it over in a 90. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer it over on this here and use this here ruler to keep it from closing up on me. That way I can actually wrap it around this here and slide it over, because this got a curvature to it, okay? There's a curve to this here, and if you just leave it on 90, it's going to be perfectly straight. But when you curve it and flatten this out, I can actually shape this panel in the way I want to. So I'll get that flattened out there. So you can see now I got it bent over, and you can see there's a gap there now. And I got the flange on. I can curve the shape of that there now to fit on here, and then I'll mark it. I'm going to trim a bit more of this off because I cut straight into here. I'm going to trim this off into here and try to cut this so that I'm actually not cutting into the inner panel like it is done here, because I done that when I originally made the cut. I always do it this way. I'll cut it up now, another 1/2 inch or so, and I'll cut it off there, and I'll work my way in around, cut the end off, and remove that. Then I'm going to actually make the piece curvature, put a curvature in it, and slide it in over, and get it fitting where I'm happy with it. So there's the piece. I got it all trimmed up, and I got this trimmed up here, and you can see the way that I cut it up past that there. And I got this here trimmed up, I got that bent over. Now I'll tighten it up later on. What I need to do here now is I forgot to do it. I got to put a couple of plug welds in this here. And I'm just going to drill a couple of 1/8 holes for now. And just open them up a small bit so when I turn it over I can actually weld them on. Other than that, this fits here really good. And you put it in place there. The key is right here, okay? Making sure that there is nice and flush and thin. Because this has always been the spot that you always run into troubles to. Getting this here transition to flow right nice here. So this is where you got to concentrate on, right there. Not worried about nothing else out here in the middle, that type of thing, right? Now I know for a fact, because of the way this panel is right here, I know before I even start welding this is going to want to tuck, because that panel is relaxed in the downward motion. So when I start welding this here, this is going to want to relax down, okay, which runs no problem. I'm going to prop this up a little bit higher so I can actually get this welded here, and hopefully put a strain on it so that it's above the point where it's got to be, so it doesn't want to drop too much. Now, because I'm doing this with the flux core, it's there's going to be a lot more heat in it, and so I'm going to play around with it and just see if I can get this here, the cotton butt, to a nice finish, okay, the way I finish all my other welding with MIG welding, just to see if I can do it. It's my first attempt at it, so, you know, don't judge me, because every time you go at something for the first time, there's going to be a learning curve there. And I'm always looking to learn new stuff. And this is one of the things that I've noticed a lot of you guys are doing, is using them flux core welders to try to do the cotton butt. So I'm going to see how well I can do it. Right now, this will be the time you'll go in here and you'll put your weld through primer or your paint or anything on that type stuff. I don't bother with the weld through primer. I haven't in years. I've always caused me troubles. All I've ever done with this here was sprayed some paint and everything on it, some rust paint, and sprayed on it, because I found the weld through primer still burned off right where the welds are to, okay? You just want some protection on it. I'm not going to bother with this because of what this door is. This is just something I got kicking around, and I want to experiment with it. I didn't want to do it on a good job, on a good door, on someone's vehicle. This is just one I got kicking around here, and I'm not going to bother with doing anything with that there. But this will be the time that you'll paint that, let it all set up, come back, paint the back side of these here, right? Get some paint down inside there, because that's where it's all going to rust to, in between here and in between here. This is where all these rust to. It's because from the factory, none of this was painted. The door skin was put on, was wrapped around, and it was painted. And then moisture got trapped in here and trapped in here and trapped in here, and it rusted, okay? Because there's nothing in there. So don't be afraid to put a bit of paint on it. Paint this back side as well. It's another thing you got to do, but I'm not going to bother with it right now. So I'm going to go ahead, fit this in place here, and start welding it in. So here we are. You see me struggling here, okay? Everybody started off on his kind, and I started doing the cut. It took nice there, it didn't take bad there. And then when I got down here, I realized, okay, well, I got to keep an eye on it. I was going to start welding this up. I started up here and I thought about it. I said, no, you got to remove the piece that's in here. Now, in the defense, this is a tight corner for that piece to be in. Probably what I should have done is I should have come back really, really tight, just had a sliver going down through there. It seems that the flux core really, really sticks to the pieces on the back side here. The piece, I think, is still there. Either that or it was folded up here somehow, I don't know. I'm not going to mangle this or spend any too much more time on it. Now come down to here to try to put the last tack on the bottom of it. And I had troubles, just kept blowing holes, because now you're dealing with a gap, see? And you're trying to weld two pieces of metal with a gap. I'm going to continue on and start welding this up like it is here now. It's okay. I find when I hits it with the welder, it just wants to stand right up, and then it got a tendency to cup outwards between each piece. The heat is that much into it. Like you've seen me doing the cut and butt before, and I do a spot weld here, bring this up, do a spot weld here. Nothing in the middle moves, okay? But what I'm noticing with this stuff, when I welds it here, and then when I brings it and I flushes it here and I welds it here, this got a tendency to rise up. There's so much heat there. And I've done the same thing here, and it rose up here. So, and then I had to tap it down in order to get a flush again. It's a different process and extremely slow, okay? I'm not used to it. I could probably get better at it if I'd done more of it. The biggest dilemma I had with all this here is that I wear safety glasses, okay? I wear headphones. I have very sensitive hearing, and I don't like the sound of the grinder. I've always wore headphones. I can't wear headphones with a helmet, okay? You can't weld this without a helmet. You saw me welding before where I hide behind the tip of the gun, I tack everything in, that type of stuff. The arc on a MIG is a lot smaller, and you can hide it behind the nozzle itself. And I never look directly at the actual weld. With this, you can't do that. There's a great big bright space there. And like I caught myself a couple of times just coming in and starting to attack on it. I never had a helmet on, okay? And it is brutal. So every time I done a cut and went to do a weld, I had to go back and forth between the helmet and that. Now you can get helmets with headphones on them and all that type of stuff. And I wears the hat so I don't burn top of my head because I got no hair on my head. But that's the biggest thing. I find it extremely slow here. I'm not used to it, okay? I've never seen anybody doing the cut and butt using flux. I've seen fellas doing cut to fit, that type of stuff, and lap welding, okay? I'd have no problems using this stuff to do a lap weld like you see me on the inside there. I might end up just doing a lap weld across here yet, I don't know. Because it seems how much trouble I has with this here to go with it. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours doing this here trying to perfect it, okay? This was something I wanted to experiment with. I wanted to show you guys that are out there having troubles with it, that I'm at this over 30 odd years, and this is giving me a lot of trouble because it's flux core. Totally different puppy. MIG welding and flux core welding are two different things. This stuff was designed for structural welding, okay? Welding outside, all that type of stuff. If I was to make patch panels to put in a car, I'd use this on, like say now you had your winter bomb and you had to put rocker panels on it, or you had to put pieces into quarter panels. I'd have no problems putting it on it, but it'd be all lap welds, okay? I wouldn't have no problems with it. I lap welded for years in the trade. I just wanted to fine tune these spots here and fine tune my corners. That's the reason why I started to figure this out and do it this way. I just didn't want to have a lot of filler on stuff, so I tried to finish off my panels, and this is the reason why I start using the cut and butt, okay? But if you got an old winter bomb or an old daily beater and you want to weld patches in it, the cut and butt with this flux core, I'd say is going to give you some troubles, especially if you haven't got no experience at it and it's your first time at it. Don't get frustrated and say that Tony makes it look easy. I make it look easy because I use MIG, not flux, two different things. Let's get this welded in. That was tedious, very tedious. I'm finding that like out here, this has gone high, this has stayed level. It almost seems like it might be a bit low. This seems to be pretty good in here, but out here, this is changing. So the two metals must be different metals in terms of thickness wise. There seems to be a big high spot here, and there's always been there since the beginning. And I'm going to have to hammer that down, but I'm going to grind it all up first. But you can see what's involved in there. What I find the hardest with this stuff is seeing where you end it and what's not welded up. There's a lot of porosity in some of it. A lot of it got to do with the different types of metals. I think if it was a heavier gauge metal, it'd probably work good. But I can only imagine some of you guys trying to fix this with Toyotas and Hondas and all them type cars, trying to do this type of repair with flux core. I can tell you, this is like early 80s, late 70s style sheet metal, and it was only 22 gauge back then, right? So there's a spot there I missed. It's very hard to see some of it, right, that you're going through it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sit down and grind this up, the same process I used to do before, and I'm going to see how hard this is to grind with the grinding pad that I've always used on the MIG weld. So let's get this grinded up now. Brand new 24. I got 2 more pads put on it just to give it some good backing. So I got it all grinded up, and you can see there's still a lot of little spots in it everywhere. Okay, down here it's really bad. You can actually see how low that spot is there and how high it is now. I'm thinking quite possibly this here got damaged when I was trying to remove that piece from the inside, okay? When I was trying to move that there, I probably warped this up, moved it around. That could be the cause of it, okay? It's just very unusual that it's pretty decent up through here, and then when it gets down to here, and even here is not bad, and that's where I blew through the hole. It's just that area there. And I'm thinking that there might be a strain or something on the back side of that there where I tweaked the metal and whatnot. So I can probably get the spoon underneath that here, go this way, and get up here and hammer that flat. That's what I'm going to do with that there. But the thoughts of having to go back and re-weld all these here again, to me, I just like, I don't think I'm going at that. Right? But you can actually see the way that is like the little spots and everything on it. Now it's nice and smooth. You can take an edge on it. It is tucked a small bit. You can see spots there. The way that's going down through there, and it's good right there. Look. That's a good spot there. And you get down to here, it's high there and it's low there, and you can see the light underneath it. Look. So that would have to be work. But then you get down to here, it's not half bad there. See? So there's probably more to that than just warpage from heat. It's a extremely slow process. I'd say there's spots there. There's probably one there I can see that's a cut. I'm trying to look at the light and everything on it here now. Like they're actual, like where the two metals joined and I never welded. It's very hard to see with this stuff. You got to keep cleaning it and stuff like that, and you're left with these little tiny imperfections in it. See if I can get them in here. You can see all these little imperfections in through here. All them, and just the thoughts of going back down trying to weld all them up with the flux core. I'm afraid I'm going to blow holes in it. That's the truth. That's the way I look at it. This is strong enough now to do body work and everything on it. Now, I've been thinking about this. You structural welder guys that are coming on to the sites and explaining how to do welding and all this type of stuff. Auto body is not the same as structural welding, okay? Everything that you do in structural welding is totally different than this, okay? The processes of setting up welders and what wire to use and all that type of stuff. you can come on and tell us that, you know, your amperage is not right, your wire is not right, and, you know, you're not holding it properly and all that type of stuff, and then beads look horrible. You should be able to run a row of nickels and stuff like that. That's not how it works on sheet metal, okay? Sheet metal, you never ever worry about your welds, okay? You want penetration, and you want to get consistency, and you want to control your heat. You don't want a lot of heat. Structural welding, you want a lot of heat, okay? So it's a different process than doing structural welding. I'll leave that one alone. And, you know, there's guys out there, I can tell you, over time with practice, you can get good at this here. Bondo Billy's using it, and he's having a lot of success with using flux core wire. I seen porosity coming up here and coming down here. He talks about he don't get porosity, okay? That's, I think that maybe could be the wire itself. It depends on the flux core wire you're getting and stuff like that. So now you got to get fussy and experiment and find out what wire you're having. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to do to make flux core work, and a lot of it is getting a lot of time at it. It's great for doing, you know, patchwork, stuff like that. I personally think that this is a longer process. It takes longer. It's cheaper because you haven't got a roll, you haven't got to worry about a bottle of gas, okay? You haven't got to worry about a contract, okay? The welders are cheaper. There's where your savings are to. There's no savings here, okay? If you're looking to do a car and do perfection, invest in the welder, invest in the gas, okay? TIG welding's even better again, but like that's an art in itself, and is even more expensive and more time consuming because it takes stuff longer to do with TIG than it do with MIG, okay? What else? I'm going to overlap this. I had quite enough of that. See, what the thing I found when I was in bodywork, that I was always like, my corners are there. I have everybody talking about rounder corners. Look at that there, huh? There's nothing wrong with that spot there. Not along there, that corner there is there. That looks good along there, okay? So, to me, it's got to do with how you control it. Everybody talks about you having problems with corners because people come over here and then they come down here. You treat your corners like a straight line. You come over here, you come down here and weld. You come down here, like when you're coming across here, you don't go to here and come down here. You go to here, you go to here, down, skip it over. Stay away from your corners. Treat your corners as a straight line. This distance here to this distance here, treat it like a straight line. You wouldn't come down here and go zap, 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 like that. You wouldn't put a lot of heat in one area like that when you're welding together. You'd turn around and you'd come down and you'd skip an inch, you'd skip an inch, you'd skip an inch. Why come up here and go skip an inch, 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 skip an inch? Like, because that's where your heat is coming from. So treat your corners the same as you would a straight line. Anyway, I'm not going to do much more with that. I'm going to dolly this up here now, see what it looks like. And then I'm going to go ahead and make this piece here. So here's where I'm to. I bent up the lower edge on this here, and I bent up this corner here on this one here. Then I figured out how much I needed, which is about 2 inches. And I turned around, I marked it off, and I cut it off at 2 inches high. Then I cleaned up the metal, both in the corners and stuff like that. Now I got to put in place, I got to tap in place here. What I'm doing here now is I mark this here. Because the trick to sometimes, if you're going to do an overlap panel, what you could do is just do like a cut to fit on the ends, okay? On both ends. That way you get a nice transition into your edges. You don't mind out here so much because you're going to have filler there and you can taper it off. It's very hard to taper off a thick edge here. Like if you had an overlap here and it was very thick, right? So you do a cut to fit here and then the rest of it you just let it overlap, okay? And I'll do the same thing down here. Now this end here I left open because I had to put a cap on this, and this is plug weld. It's just got an edge on it, on this edge here. and you can actually plug weld to it, so the skin comes over, goes down, and is welded in through the side here, right? So I'll actually make a piece for that separately and weld it on, grind and dress it, and do all that after. All I'm worried about right now is getting it to fit here, and then basically I'll also mark it here to trim that off there so that it actually butts here. I want this edge here to butt probably in as far as here, and the same with down here. I'll do the same thing here. And then the rest of it I'll just leave alone. So I got this put in place. I'm going to take scribe now, scribe this along here, trim that off there, trim that off there, and then do another test fit. So you saw me cutting the piece out of there, how I marked it and described it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to fit the panel back on it. I'm going to scribe it along here, and I'm going to remove as much of this as I don't need. I'll leave about 1/4 of an inch there, that'll be it, and I'll just cut that right off along there. So now that I got this all fit in place and I'm ready to go, there's one more thing I got left to check. Way back in the beginning I took some measurements. I took a measurement from the bottom of the door up in 3 locations on the door. One was here, the other one was right here, and the other one was right here. All of them had to be 15 inches to the bottom of the door. That's what they are, okay? I got all the other ones measured and all done. That's all I done. I put the tape on there, put it on the mark, measured it off, come down to the bottom of the door, 15 inches, 15 inches. Now, whether this is going to fit right, it's tricky. I always, like I said, I prefer to do all this stuff on a vehicle. But for purposes today, all we're doing is doing it this way. So it's a way to do it if you want to try it. But in the past, I've always found that the corners were kicked in, kicked out. This here was kicked in and kicked out. It was all little things going on there. The distances, you know. But anyway, let's get that welded in. You look closely, you can see the way he's rolling up on me? It's got a little curvature in between each one. The heat that is building up, right? I went ahead now, went over with the steel brush again and give it a quick clean up. Get started on the next row because I'll start putting welds next to the other one now, much the same as I've always done. I'm noticing now it's starting to tuck here, like it's falling in because this is the middle of the panel. In along here, you're feeling this is starting to pull in here. So it's low right here now, as going right across here because I'm adding heat to it. This panel here wants to fall back, and this one here is fighting it to keep it up, right? But it's a lot easier doing the laps, doing a lap weld and just welding it in. Like I said, I got it done over here. I've done a solid weld here. This is flush mounted here. This is in the middle. Where this is going to tuck down, it shouldn't be too bad because it'll probably be in between here. Just a matter of putting the fiberglass over it and building it up again. It's much the same over here. It's flush here, and then it'll probably tuck here as well, right? I'm going to go ahead now and start continuously welding this in, going along here, and I'll bring you back when I got so much more done. I can tell you this is no fun, okay? I was playing around with my angles on my how I was welding straight in, angling it, doing all that type of stuff, playing around with all that. Heat settings, moving the heat settings up and down on the machine. I had the tip stick a couple of times to just like burn back into the wand. A lot of it is just I'm not used to it, okay? But just like for a first timer, I can see anybody who's at this for the first time really getting frustrated with it, because I can tell you I'm frustrated with this. I don't like this at all. This is not my type of work. There's guys out there that can do it and are good at it, but I just find that it's all right for mucking stuff together and for heavy structural work, but to actually try to do any like really clean fancy sheet metal work, oh no. Now don't be discouraged by it, because all I would do with this now is I'd grind it off there, I'd heave a skim of fiberglass across that, and mud that, perfect. Now you can only imagine if I did this up here, right through the middle of this door, this will be like there to there with fiberglass, I'd say. And you'd be underneath it trying to beat it out, trying to get it, but it's only this lower section here, right along there, that's all dropped. Every bit of that, right down to the middle of that. Just way too much heat. I tried welding it every inch, coming back, welding every inch, and I kept losing myself. Every time I did this, made a real cloudy thing. You can't see the weld next to it on either side of it. You can't see nothing, right? You gotta clean it up every single time to actually see your welds, okay? So it can be frustrating. It takes extremely long period of time to do this. Way longer than I'm really wanting to put into it here now. I've been here now the last hour or so getting ready to just pack it in and say enough of this, stop this one right now. But I'm going to go ahead and going to finish it. I'm going to cut this off, get that piece put in there, get that grinded off there, dolly up the back side here, have it done. Just to say that I completed the door, because it's a big undertaking. The heat range, the wire. Now there's fellas saying, well, you're not using the right welder, you're not using the right gas, or you're not using the right welder, you're not using the right wire, your settings are not right, all that type of stuff. But it's basically a starter welder, okay? Simple welder, supposed to be, put it on, use it. Fellas that use it and say, boy, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. They've been at it a while, okay? It's like anything else. But if you're a first timer, okay, starting off, wanting to get into bodywork, this is not where you start, okay? This will frustrate with you, and it will make it extremely hard for you. It's great if you want to tack stuff in, like earlier, I was to the point now, say if I welded this every inch, that should be fine enough, and I'll fiberglass over it, like that type of patch. I've done them in the past. That's the type of work you do. But for the amount of time that I got into this using Flux core, I'm losing money. If I had to have, for the money that I'm losing in terms of time wise, I'm doing with Flux, I could have saved it and made money if I had to buy a more expensive welder that can take gas, and buy a bottle of gas and buy a contract. If I was doing any amount of this, if it was a full-on restoration, doing an old car or something like that, I'll be in money by having a MIG welder that took gas, okay? Simple as that. It's a great little welder for anybody wanting to do it. If I was building a chassis or frame, I'm going to continue on with it. I have other projects that I'm doing. Build a trailer. I'm going to build a trailer using Flux. But for doing sheet metal, doing body work, I'm telling you, you got to have patience with it. And take your time. Right? So, anyway, I'm going to go get this finished up here now. I'll bring you back then. So much easier. I went and flipped the door over. You saw me on the other end over there, over here. I went and hauled out the MIG with the gas on it, welded that up. I needed to get a fix. I needed to get clear of that flux core, okay? I welded that up, made that piece up there, then I came over, flipped it over. I dollied all these flat. I put a couple of spot welds along the bottom here. And then I turned around, dollied this flat, and welded all the seams so they're all joined, so it's all continuously up here. Welded my corners like I always do. Rounded them out so it's a nice round edge. So now you got a nice seam along there, coming up along here. So all that is done. So I got this door completed. I just had to finish it off. I don't know if I'll ever use it for anything. It's a good old door for a plow truck, if anything at all. But yeah, I'm telling you, that's something else that was. And this is the outside finish. This section up here, I did the cotton bud on it and used flux core on it. Down here, I did a lap weld and I welded it up solid. I went and turned around and cut the fit on the ends, on both ends here. And then just turn around and done the overlap there. But I expected this to happen. You can look in across that there. You can see the gap on that there. But the nicest thing about it, we're at the bottom of the door. You can fill this now from about here down, you're fine. Okay? Don't ever get frustrated with it. That is a common thing. I calls it a tuck because the heat draws everything down, because the metal came down this way and this came up and then it just wants to fall into itself right where it's welded. It's a common thing. You can't get behind it. It's hard to get behind it from inside and try to dolly that out. I would not be worried about it for what I was doing with this door, okay? These doors, it would have been cheaper to buy a door. Yes, I know. I wanted to show the process and teach myself and figure out what I thought of it all. And I can tell you, flux core is not for me. So there you have it. Fitzy doing flux core welding. Don't tell nobody. Please, don't tell nobody. Don't let this get out. This is not my type of work. Anyway, as you can see, flux core, you can weld sheet metal with flux core. You want to put a lot more time in it, you can. To me, it's a skill. You got to do a lot of practice at it to get it. I never had to practice at it. This was my first time welding sheet metal with flux core. No word of a lie. I did a little bit of cotton bud up here. I did a little bit of a lap weld down here. A bunch of pieces I welded on the inside. It's great if you're a guy that's on a budget and haven't got a lot of money and you're patching together a car or just trying to put together a little beater, a little fun little car to bomb around in. Don't ever get discouraged by this stuff like this, okay? You see guys, you see me all the time doing all the cotton bud and doing the real nice finishing on the metal and stuff like that. And that never came overnight, okay? You know, it's just one of those things. You got to start somewhere. And for me, I started here with you guys today on this. So it was a big learning experience. I figured out a few things. I noticed a few things. I, realized that it is not as easy as what you would think it is. A lot of people watch my videos. They take a MIG welder and a flux core welder to be the same thing, and there's no big difference in it, okay? There's a big difference in it, okay? Just for the people that don't understand, flux core welding, it's a core wire that's got a coating on it that protects it, so there's no gas involved in it. It's a hotter weld. It's a messier weld. It's for structural, it's probably a stronger weld. A MIG welding is a gas, okay? It has gas in it, and where it protects it, and you use just a wire, and you can get smaller wires and stuff like that, welding wire to weld it up. And it's a lot easier to control your heat, to control things. It's not as messy. It's all, it has a lot of benefits to it. To me, it's time-wise. You can turn around and do a lot of work with the flux core and get yourself by. Not a problem. But if you're looking to do a real nice job with something and you haven't got the experience at it or the know-how, my advice to you is to go get a MIG welder and get gas, okay? MIG welders have come a long way now. They are a lot cheaper than what they used to be. 20 years ago, my first welder I bought, 30 years ago, I paid $850 for it. And you think about it, that's 30 years ago. And you can buy welders now as low as like $350. Good. And you can do TIG with it and flux core, and you can do it all with them welders. But the welders from years ago, it was an expensive racket. And, for the longest time, it was $1,000 for a welder. you want to go out and get involved and get a MIG welder, it was $1,000. That's the way it was. Okay. Now you can go out and you can buy a contract, get a bottle of gas, and you don't need no fancy gas. All I use is CO2. That's the same stuff they use in Pepsi and Coke machines, stuff like that for mixing stuff. And if you know anybody's in that racket, you can use them. You get that gas from them, right? So, but it's an interesting process. It was. I had a lot. I wouldn't say I had a lot of fun doing it. It was interesting to do, and I took you guys along. I never covered nothing up. I never made myself look good in this at all, because I want to show you guys that I'm human too. So don't ever get discouraged with your projects. Get at them, get them done. Always turn around and realize that Fitzy's not perfect either, right? So anyway, I hope the tips were good, and until next time. I got something to cover that up. I'll throw a rag over that. Just in case someone comes in the shop and goes, no one to see this, right? Perfect. That's perfect there now. All that? No, I'm not getting into that. Right? Not getting into that at all. Hey, bud. No? Coming in time to come in, is it? Yeah.